Beneath a raised mound in the African savanna, a spotted hyena mother was raising 3 cubs inside an abandoned aardvark burrow. The den had once been a perfect shelter. Its narrow entrance prevented larger animals from reaching the cubs. The deep tunnels kept the interior cool during the heat of the day and warm after nightfall. But after several weeks of use, a hidden danger began to spread through the darkness. Thousands of fleas had multiplied inside the dry grass lining the floor. Ticks waited inside cracks in the soil, ready to attach themselves to any warm body that passed nearby. Small flies constantly gathered around the entrance before laying eggs in areas of damaged skin. The mother hyena suffered the worst infestation. Hundreds of ticks clung around her ears, neck, belly, and between her toes. Fleas crawled beneath her coarse fur, biting her continuously throughout the day and night. The skin around her shoulders had been scratched until the fur disappeared. A cut on one of her front legs had begun to swell. Every time she scratched it, blood seeped from the wound and attracted even more flies. The 3 cubs could not escape the parasites either. They constantly bit at their legs, rolled across the ground, and whimpered from the irritation. The smallest cub had already begun to weaken. It no longer fought its siblings for milk. Instead, it remained pressed against the wall, repeatedly flicking its ears. The mother tried to clean them. She licked the fur around each cub's neck and gently used her teeth to pull away the larger ticks. But there were simply too many. For every parasite she removed, more emerged from the dry grass beneath them. The den was no longer protecting her family. It had become the source of their suffering. That night, the mother left the burrow to search for food. She walked more slowly than usual, repeatedly stopping to bite at the irritated skin along her flanks. In the distance, her clan was gathered around the remains of a buffalo. The mother approached, but the other hyenas quickly noticed her weakened condition. The smell coming from the infected wound on her leg caused several animals to move away. A larger female growled and refused to let her enter the center of the group. The mother remained outside the feeding circle. She was too weak to challenge the stronger hyenas. By the time the clan moved on, almost no meat remained. She found only a strip of dry hide and a few small pieces of bone. On the way back, she discovered a stretch of blackened earth left behind by a grass fire several days earlier. The flames had completely disappeared. Only cool ash, burned tree trunks, and a layer of fine black dust remained. The mother stepped onto the scorched ground. She lowered herself and rolled forcefully through the ash. The dark dust spread across her fur and reached areas that her teeth and claws could not touch. Some of the fleas abandoned her body. Smaller ticks became coated in dry ash, making it more difficult for them to remain attached. The hyena rubbed her shoulder against a charred tree trunk, knocking several parasites onto the blackened earth. For the first time in days, the irritation eased slightly. But when she returned to the den, she found that her cubs were still suffering. The smallest cub lay curled against the ground, its belly covered in fleas. If they remained there, all 3 cubs would continue to grow weaker. The mother stood at the entrance for a long time. Then she made her decision. The cubs had to leave that very night. She gently gripped the smallest one by the loose skin behind its neck and carried it outside. The frightened cub struggled briefly before becoming still in its mother's jaws. The mother carried it through the dark grass toward an abandoned termite mound nearly a kilometer away. An aardvark had once dug into the base of the mound, creating a dry and protected tunnel. The entrance appeared undisturbed, and the soil inside carried no scent of predators or heavy parasite activity. The mother placed the cub inside and immediately turned back. She had to make the journey 2 more times. With every return to the old den, her body became more exhausted. The wound on her leg throbbed with pain, while ticks remained attached around her belly. As she carried the second cub away, the wind began to strengthen. Dark clouds gathered along the horizon. By the time she returned for the final cub, the first drops of rain were falling across the savanna. The mother entered the old burrow and found the youngster hiding at the far end of the tunnel. She called softly, but the cub was too weak to walk out on its own. The mother crawled deeper into the tunnel, picked it up, and pulled herself backward through the narrow passage. The moment they emerged, heavy rain began pouring down. Water rushed from the hillside directly into the den entrance. Within minutes, the dry grass inside was submerged. Thousands of fleas, parasite eggs, and larvae were swept out with the muddy water. Had the mother waited any longer, the final cub might have become trapped beneath the flooded tunnel. She immediately carried it toward the termite mound. The rain made the ground slippery. Twice the mother lost her footing and nearly dropped the cub. Each time, she quickly regained her balance and continued through the storm. When she finally reached the new den, the other two cubs were waiting inside. The mother placed the last cub beside them and lay across the entrance. All three youngsters immediately pressed against her belly for warmth. Outside, the rain continued to fall, but inside the termite mound, the ground remained dry. The following morning, the mother led each cub outside. She gently rolled them across the clean, damp soil, then used her teeth to remove the larger ticks still attached around their ears. Over the next several days, the cubs slowly recovered. The smallest one began standing again and competing with its siblings for food. The flea bites started to dry and heal. The cubs no longer whimpered or constantly bit at their legs. The mother still carried many wounds, but each evening, she returned to the burned ground. She rolled through the dry ash and rubbed her body against the rough, charred trunks. Gradually, the number of parasites decreased, and the wound on her leg began to close. 1 week later, the calls of her clan echoed near the termite mound. The mother stepped outside. She did not immediately run toward them.